Traders, how are you? Marcello here, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader, where you guys can come and apply to use our money for just a process of 120 bucks with accounts starting at $25,000. Definitely something you should look into. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. Overall this week, stocks closed higher on Monday, third time since last Tuesday. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ yet again closed at a record high. That came from upbeat consumer spending and also spending data that helped push those stocks higher in those indices, those exchanges. S&P 500 companies now have reported earnings, make about 50% of all the index's value. Nearly 80% of the firms that have already reported results exceeded expectations, which is above the 3-year average of 71%, an indication that the economy or the companies are doing well. S&P 500 and NASDAQ on Tuesday retreated from all-time highs, especially from the reports that Google didn't have very good earnings in comparison to what expectations were. They had a revenue miss, and also Apple dropped ahead of the results. They had disastrous results with the iPhones that they were selling in China more than anything. Wednesday is lower. The Fed says no to lower rates. After a drop in stocks on Thursday due to the Fed inaction, the indexes rose broadly on Friday due to job growth data for April and also pointing to further growth about a strong domestic economy. NASDAQ hits another record high on Friday. You guys remember about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we talked about the golden cross, right? Short-term expectation was that the market was definitely going to go up. The last few weeks, you guys can see that, but I also mentioned to you guys that we aren't going to see the kind of results that we were seeing before. This week, for example, yeah, we made record highs, but the S&P 500 went up only 0.20% for the week. The NASDAQ 0.22% for the week. The Dow actually went down 0.14%. In overseas market news, European markets are mixed. The biggest winner is the DAX, 0.80%. The Spain, I forgot the name of the exchange in Spain, went the biggest loser, 1.02%. In Latin American markets, the Merval in Argentina went down 7.86%, the biggest loser. They've been having a tough time. They got elections coming up this year as well. African Middle Eastern markets, South Africa, 0.75%, and the biggest loser, the biggest economy in Africa, Nigeria, 1.81%. Asian markets are mixed for the week as well. The Hong Kong HSCEI went up 1.61%, and Indonesia went down, the biggest loser, 1.30%. Let me know if you guys do like to know those percentages, because I always get mixed results. So let me know down here in the comments if you guys do want to hear it, or if you guys are on the podcast. Listening to the podcast is available everywhere, Spotify, everything. I saw that thousands of you guys are enjoying it, so thank you very much. Just go ahead and leave a comment on Facebook or on Instagram or on YouTube, and that'll be fine. I'd love to get your feedback on that. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news. Remember, one of the things I want you guys to remember about this space is that everybody talks about cryptos like they're just one thing, right? They're two separate things. Cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, actually use technology called blockchain, right? So there's some other words for it now as well, but for the most part, it's blockchain. So everybody talks about it like it's together, but it's actually two separate things. Facebook is recruiting financial firms and online merchants to be able to launch its own crypto-based payment system. They want to be able to use digital coins to send payments to each other on Facebook and also across the internet. Maybe they'll call it Facebook coin. Bitcoin gained for the week's 5.43%. Went to 5,671.86. Last Thursday, the US dollar index, which is on the exchange called the ICE, will reach its highest level since May 2017. Definitely an amazing time to travel. And kind of a side note, if you guys have a little money saved up or don't, I'm telling you now is a great time to travel because the dollar is so high. Soon it's not going to be this high anymore, and the economy is not going to be doing well anymore. Due to that, there's increasing economic data that the U.S. economy is healthy and compared with its peers. Best economy. Pat on the back, America. U.S. reported growth rate in quarter one of 3.2%. along with muted inflation, gives the Federal Reserve the ability to stay pat on interest rates and also kind of let the economy do what it's supposed to. One of the interesting things that happened this week, or one of the things that you guys should know, is that the Federal Reserve is floating an idea called the standing repo facility, which is going to allow banks to exchange treasuries for reserves. Some critics are saying that this is very dangerous tinkering with the financial system and another form of quantitative easing, basically, which is quite kind of like a disguised thing of what they did in 2008. This is part of the reason why I like to do these videos, because all the news, I think, nowadays really just report what they think is going on, or their opinions of what they want you to believe, not what's actually going on. And I want you guys to be able to kind of learn how to do that, right? It's part of the reason why we have Day Trading Academy, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to give the banks a way to hold fewer reserves and help the Fed to quest to shrink its balance sheet. But at the end of the day, it's another form of quantitative easing. On Wednesday, the Federal Reserve didn't sleep that much last night, obviously. Left its key benchmark rate unchanged due to low inflation, despite renewed calls by President Trump to be able to lower interest rates and facilitate faster economic growth. Commodities for the week: U.S. Trump succeeds in cutting Iran's oil exports to nearly nothing. One of the main beneficiaries is going to be Russia. It's going to allow Putin to give a lot more influence over Syria, Iran as well, and the projected Russian power across the Middle East. Let me explain this to you, and then I'll explain to you what it means. Over the last 11 days, the imports of crude, oil, from Russia to the European Union has actually gone down by about 10%. Remember that Russia is the second largest exporter of oil in the world. And this is a major disruption because 10% is 10%, right? Europe is a big market for Russia. So this is what's allowing the oil prices to actually stay a little bit higher. Otherwise, it would have gone down quite a bit. Capitalism at its finest. OPEC, obviously, this is the oil mafia, which tries to cut production and raise production depending on where they want the oil prices to be. While the second and third largest importers of oil, which is China and India respectively, have actually made a deal to create an import block. So basically OPEC for importers. So now they're going to have a lot of bargaining power when it comes to them negotiating with OPEC, because since they import so much oil, they're going to be able to make the rules as well. That's the great thing I love about capitalism. As long as the playing field is fair, anybody can play by the rules. So if OPEC wants to go and manipulate the oil prices, well, they'll go and do it too, which is great. America is on a clean energy revolution. It's on a verge of a tipping point. Renewable energy is going to generate more electricity than coal for the first time ever in April. Also, coal has already been overtaken by natural gas. If you guys didn't know, coal is absolutely the worst energy producer for the environment. EU is seeking to double its imports of liquefied natural gas from the United States by 2023 as they try to ease their reliance on Russian gas. Also, they're trying to do this to be able to go ahead and ease the trade tensions. You guys remember Trump is launching a trade war with everybody. Oil prices this week went down 1.44% to $61.99 in the U.S. Oil, and also international Brent, which is the international price for oil, went down 1% to $70.91. U.S. surge in output is what's overtaking the losses from production in Venezuela and Iran. Overall, for the week, gold went down 0.55% to $12.79. Silver went down 1.33% to $14.99. I uploaded a video last week about how I'm trading now with the silver miners. If you guys want to go back and watch that, I think it was on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Remember, educational purposes only. Do your own research. Do what's best for you, and don't invest in anything that you guys don't know what is, what you guys don't understand, basically. Q1 gold purchases by central banks led by Russia and China are the highest in 6 years. Countries are continuing to diversify their assets away from the US dollar. Global gold reserves rose by 145.5 tons in Q1, a 68% increase from a year earlier. And Russia remains the largest buyer of gold as it moves away from US treasuries. Now, let's just think for this for a second. If central banks are buying so much gold, why is it that the news and the media says that No, it's not important. Don't you think that we should pay attention to what the people do, not what they say? In the economy, consumer spending went up by the most in 9.5 years, with March surging at 0.9%. Price pressures remained muted, and key inflation measures posting its smallest annual gain in 14 months. U.S. job growth in April, unemployment dropped to 3.8%, a 49-year low of 3.6%, pointing to solid economic growth. Payrolls rose to 263,000 versus 185,000 analyst estimates. Adult women's unemployment was 3.1% in April versus March 3.3%, lowest since 1953. And jobless rates for Hispanic Americans dips to 4.2%, the lowest on record since they began collecting the data in 1973. Even before that's pretty amazing. Even before the U.S. decided to tighten oil sanctions against Iran last week, the rial, which is the Iranian currency, went down by 2/3 against the dollar. The IMF is expecting the GDP to shrink by 6%. In 40 years of the Iran's Islamic Republic, 2019 is going to be the worst for the domestic economy. Eurozone growth at an accelerated, amazing 0.4%. Woo! Okay, well, you ready for this? Spain grew at an amazing 0.7%. Italy grew for an amazing 0.2%. And France grew, ready? You ready for these amazing numbers? 0.3%. You guys can, you guys can see the difference between the economies in the U.S. and Europe, right? Europe kind of bends more pure capitalistic. Europe more socialistic. Obviously, Europe has a lot higher taxes compared to the U.S. U.S. has a lot lower taxes. You guys can see the difference in the growth. When you guys are going out and planning or voting or doing whatever you guys want to do, you guys can see the difference. The regulation and the bureaucracy in Europe, it's through the roof, whereas in the U.S., if you guys remember, Trump slashed all the regulations. And again, doesn't matter if you love Trump, love Obama, hate Obama, left, right, pink, purple, yellow. I'm never going to get political on the show. So it doesn't matter what you believe in. Let's just talk about the numbers. You guys can see what the effect of these changes have made on the U.S. economy, because essentially the U.S. is the strongest economy right now. Dirtiest shirt in the dirty closet, yes, but still the strongest economy. America. Other than that, unemployment across the EU dropped to 7.7% in March, lowest rates in September 2008. If only that economy can keep growing as amazing as it is in Europe. In corporate news, shares of Alphabet dipped by 7% after closing up 1.5% for a record high of 1,296.20. They had a quarterly increase in revenue, and it was the slowest rise in the last 3 years. So people didn't like that because obviously they've been growing by leaps and bounds, and all of a sudden they're not growing as fast anymore. Samsung's operating profit plunged 60% for Q1. Delayed launch of the Galaxy Fold phone. I wanted to check that out. I checked out the S10. It looks amazing. Waning demand for its memory chips also affected that as well, and they also saw a huge drop in sales, 14% to just 45 billion. They're just 45 billion. Their operating profit for Q1 was 5.3 billion compared to 13.4 billion the year before. Spotify surpasses 100 million paid subscribers. Streaming music service announced a milestone in the Q1 earnings report, saying that its premium service grew by 32% year over year, bolstered by the partnerships at the head with Hulu, Google, and Samsung. Spotify now has 217 million global users, which is an increase of 26%. Remember that they launched in India, which is a huge market for them. Apple reported $51.01 billion in revenue for Q1, estimated at 57. It was still a decline of 5%. Their smartphone sales for the period fell 17%. Sales in China for Q1 plunged 30%, worst decline in 2 years. Huawei also overtook Apple to become the second largest smartphone maker in the world. So now it's Samsung, Huawei, iPhone, Apple obviously, and then after that there was 2 other Chinese brands, if I'm not mistaken. Facebook CEO debuted a makeover for its main app on Tuesday. They're saying that the company is going to focus on privacy now, including private interactions, encryption, disappearing content, and secure data storage. They're also negotiating a potential multi-billion-dollar fine by the FTC, but there isn't any change in the way that they're supposed to manage the privacy data. So a bunch of hoopla, but they're not really going to change anything, supposedly. There was a huge IPO this week with a company called Beyond Meat, which is a company that creates veggie burgers, plant-based burgers, sausages, etc. They went up 192% from its IPO price of $25 a share, the best IPO of the year. They went up from 46 to 64.41 in the open, giving the market value of about 3.7 billion. In technology, new spaceflight is going to reshape the global economy not seen since the internet. The private sector is offering cheap and reliable access, which paves the way to things like in-orbit hotel, a hotel in space. Obviously, Elon Musk is talking about the rockets that can go up and get to anywhere in the world in 30 minutes. Oh, you want a croissant from France? Let's just kind of hop on a rocket, come back in the evening, party in Medellin. And also, asteroid mining is going to be a big thing as well. In investment news, U.S. President Trump and Democratic congressional leaders agreed to spend $2 trillion to improve the infrastructure in the country. Doesn't matter, we're increasing the debt by $1 trillion a year almost. Let's just go ahead and tack on a little bit more, just all in. Obviously, we're going to have the financial crisis in the next coming years. After that, for them trying to save the financial crisis, we're going to go in and have the debt crisis. Remember, I told you guys that. Probably a war with Iran in about 7 or 8 years as well. Amazon launches a new Middle Eastern marketplace. They bought a company called Souq.com for $580 million. They bought that 2 years after buying. Let me restart that. They're launching the Middle Eastern marketplace after they bought Souq 2 years ago. With the launch, Souq.com is going to be rebranded to Amazon.ae, even though Souq is going to remain available in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Warren Buffett, making a big mistake in the short term, revealed that he's buying Amazon shares at the high. If you guys remember, a few months ago, I told you I think the decisions that Warren Buffett is making aren't very good decisions. He's going to disclose the exact amount that he invested in Amazon in the quarterly report, which they filed with the SEC this month, I should say. In Venezuela, opposition leader Guaido said that they're launching the final phase of the plan to oust President Maduro. They weren't successful, but I still believe that Maduro's gonna leave by the end of the year. Unfortunately, China and Russia started helping him out. That's the reason why he's still in power. North Korea Vice Foreign Minister on Tuesday said that the U.S. is gonna face undesired consequences if it fails to present a new position in the denuclearization talks by the end of 2019. Or this is a good one. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani signed a bill on Tuesday saying that any U.S. forces in the Middle East, declaring them terrorists, and the U.S. government is a sponsor of terrorism. In unusual facts this week, Avengers Endgame, a joke in the Spanish video I just recorded. First movie to gross over $1 billion in its debut. It made $1.2 billion in the first 5 days, helped by U.S. and China. A very interesting stat, near 108,000 millionaires migrated across borders in 2018, a 14-point increase due to the prior year, more than doubled since 2013. The biggest places where they go are Australia, the US and Canada. China and Russia are the biggest losers, and the UK saw a decrease of about 3,000 millionaires due to the uncertainty in Brexit. Brazil unfortunately led the rainforest destruction last year, even though the primary deforestation went down by 37% compared to 2017. That means it went down from 2017 to 2018. Brazil lost 5,201 square miles of primary rainforest. It's about the size of the U.S. state of Connecticut, so quite a bit. Elon Musk is saying that its vehicles business is just a backstop, he's saying that the solar and the energy businesses are just a backstop. If he can get Tesla into the business of self-driving systems, that the dollar market cap is going to increase to $500 billion from $42 billion. I don't know if you've heard Elon Musk, but Uber and Lyft aren't exactly making money either, FYI. There's been a mysterious beluga whale caught wearing a suspicious harness, which ignited a lot of speculation in Norway that it was a spy for Russia. And mountaineers in the Indian Army in expedition in Nepal said that they found mysterious large footprints, which can be the Yeti or the abdominal snowman. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. The podcast is available. Go and leave me a review. And don't forget to leave me your feedback. We'll see you next week.